Welcome to this live conversation. Really excited to have Shyam Santhanam with us today. We're going to be talking about leadership as a product manager. This is such an important topic, and Shyam's great because he's been in product management for over multiple decades, going from entry level all the way up through leading a team currently as a senior director of product management at Oracle. So I'm really excited to have Shyam here because not only is he a good product manager, but he's a thoughtful, reflective kind of guy who is interested in leadership and growth and development. So I'm happy to have Shyam here. I'm going to bring him on the screen. Welcome, Shyam.
Hi, Rusty. Hello, everyone.
Excellent. Glad that you're here. Hello. And let's just start with why leadership matters in product management. From my perspective, it's the classic lots of responsibility, no authority kind of role. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Absolutely. I think definitely when I started my career, I had a different point of view about the product management. But looking back, I think product management is all about community building. You are actually leading a community of stakeholders, your engineers, your customers, your sales ecosystem, your peer product stakeholders, and so on. And that community is really on a mission to have a set of common outcomes and common impacts, right? So from that lens, product management is always having an element of leadership, and that leadership is in terms of leading your a product idea. It could be leading your customer account, or it could be leading a team of stakeholders, or even be leading a team of people reporting to you. So that's at a very high level. I would summarize the leadership being omnipresent in the product manager role. And taking one step further, in that kind of a community world, servant leadership style is probably one of the best I've experienced myself working great. Because the people are come with different ideas, different cultures, different interests and skills, and servant leadership approach is very effective in this environment. In fact, I would like to share one of my experiences. So it was probably about 10 years back. I was an ICPM, and we were getting into a project where we are ripping out a capability from an existing product and making it as a common service. And that meant impact to multiple products. So it's not just that product being ripped out, but also impact to so many other adjacent products. And it was like it definitely looking like a daunting, disruptive piece of work. But that's where my intentionally or unintentionally, I got into this community mindset. So I was really focused on building consensus, and keeping the common mission of achieving this capability end to end as my goalpost. So some of the key insights from that experience was, I focused on knowing the stakeholders well. So I built connections with every product team, and within that, product management, engineering leads, and understood what winning looks for them, right? And then I also did my homework on knowing the adjacent product spaces. So I went and learned those products a little more deeper. So I had a better understanding when I go and have a conversation. And I also focused on uh, having known what winning looks for them, having known the product spaces, I was able to come up with the win-win proposals scenarios, right? So explain why the combined capabilities would unlock more value for the products across the board. So that really helped me kind of get into this community. And the interesting fun fact is we have 10 years out, and many of us have left, like many of them have left Oracle, some of them continue. Still that community operates in an invisible manner, and we help each other in various other things that we have been doing after that.
So I love that story. And so much of what you said, and the piece that I'm really curious about is this idea about building community. You touched on that, and it's kind of a central theme of what you've been talking about so far. And one of the things that strikes me is that most people, especially in a company like Oracle, but I worked at Apple, and I talked to so many people in these big tech companies, and you're just busy, right? There's so many meetings, there's so many demands, things change, priorities change, there's fire drills. Like, how do you encourage people to focus on community when it's just you're running around trying to get stuff done all the time?
Yeah, I think Definitely, two important aspects. One is never give up. So you should keep persisting on the idea. And second is, you may not find everyone's time at same as a common group in a group setting. So the best way to approach is do a smaller group setting, do a one-on-one setting, get an engineering leads buy-in first, and then later go to the product management, or do the vice versa. So find ways to make progress, so that you don't have to hold everyone's time together to come and meet. So that's the only way we can make progress.
Yeah. How do you permeate that now you're a leader in the organization, not just as an individual contributor? But just to take an aside, I think it's important to recognize, because you're a leader, that doesn't mean you're actually managing people. Leaders are people who drive influence and change. You can be a leader as an individual contributor. You can be a leader as a manager. You are now a manager. How do you instill this kind of mindset and this emphasis on building community across the people that you manage?
Yeah, I think so. One way I've done, at least in the last 5 years, where I've led larger teams, is to first get to know the team well. So I've done like the first few years, I did one-on-one with my team, each one of my team member every week, to understand where they are coming from, what keeps them curious and itchy at work. And then I also focus on empathizing their work challenges. I think the most important thing is, you may not be able to resolve all of their challenges. They might be hitting bottlenecks, they might be hitting a deadlock on a particular decision, but at least empathizing with their work challenges was one of the things that I did with the team. And then also creating a safe platform to express and collaborate. So creating smaller group settings, private channels, where people can express their concerns, their ideas, and how they're looking at problems. So all these helped me kind of have the team look at the problem from a different angle, and kept them interested and motivated to pursue these challenging type of conversations.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. I mean, because what you're talking about really is building community amongst your team as well, right?
Yes,
This is not just community amongst your stakeholders, it's also amongst the team.
absolutely. I think the first community is your team, and then your adjacent teams, and then your leadership, and then the larger enterprise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, so what are some of the, I mean, this is fantastic, but as someone who has been in product management for a long time and thought about leadership, you're thoughtful about leadership, and you're deliberate about the actions you take in order to create this community, both within your team, with stakeholders, with the company at large. What are some lessons that you have taken away around leadership that, and specifically in this kind of role where you're, a product manager, again, lots of responsibility, not a lot of control or authority. So how are you influencing? How are you creating things done? What are some of the leadership lessons that you have learned and would be helpful to someone who is in this kind of position and wanting to be a more effective leader?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think one of the important differences between building a product in B2C and a product in B2B is that B2B cycles are slightly slower than a B2C cycle, right? And things take time, both in terms of conceiving the idea to delivering the idea, and related to the B2C world. And then also the customers adopting the capabilities are also not at the same pace as a typical B2C. So that's one important consideration here. And so that once we recognize that, so the pace at which things operate is slightly different. So typically, the young PMs, they come with aspiration of growing fast and achieving moving things faster, but understanding and acknowledging this product space, the nature of operating this operations in this product space is very important. So I make sure that I kind of bring that angle in every discussion. And the other thing is, in a large setup, right, there are multiple stakeholders, multiple dependencies. So there are always scenarios where a discussion may not always end in an outcome that you actually originally intended with, right? So some of the small nuggets of leadership lessons I would like to share here. So one is, so we have we make intentional effort to celebrate wins, even if the project does not go as expected. So maybe there's a big idea that we proposed, and it went through cycles of reviews, and at the day, hey, we shelved the project. It's not a failure. It's still a win because we were able to rationalize, all those conversations into why that's not a good idea to pursue. So that itself is contributing towards a win. And then the other ritual that we follow is in every team meeting, we start with, hey, what are the wins for the week? So which is a way to basically bring to in front of the team what are the small little things that we have done during the week that is worthy of mentioning in a group setting. So that gives a feeling of, a recognition, feeling of acknowledgement of each other's, contributions. So those are a couple of things I would start with. And then the other thing that we
Hey,
also.
hey, Shyam, can I
Yeah,
jump in here for a second? Because I
yeah,
think that point that you just shared is so important. It's worth spending a moment on. You described a situation where you bring forward a project, you work on the project, you propose it, you put a lot of time and energy into it, and then in the end, it gets canceled. And yet it's still a win. And I
yeah,
think that is such a change in perspective for most people, because most people say, well, I put all this time and energy into this project and then it was canceled. That's a failure. I feel bad. I failed. The team failed. And yet there's multiple ways in which that's a win. I mean, one is that what you described is
yeah,
just simply the effort that went into it and the learnings that came from it. But the second perspective I think is so important is, if that's truly the best decision for the company, that's a win.
yeah.
Even though you spent a lot of time at it, even though it was canceled in the end, if that is the right outcome, you successfully led the company to make a good decision. And that is a win.
Yep, absolutely, Rusty. That's the angle. Yep.
So anyway, I think that's great, and then you tied it back into the individuals and the individual wins and the actions you're taking, and I think that's something that's often overlooked. High achievers, big company, we always are looking at the results. What are we achieving and accomplishing? But it's the steps we're taking that are also worthy of acknowledgement.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So thanks for letting me jump in there. It's such a unique perspective that you're sharing. I feel like it's not widely held. So I wanted to just spend a minute on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And one other interesting scenario is this, right? So often, many meetings, we have people from different teams. They come from different angles, and another thing we intentionally practice is, after the meeting, we do a debrief, and then the debrief we rationalize it into outcomes and decisions on the product direction. So we separate the personality from the product, actually. So we really focus on, hey, instead of talking about, hey, what was, like, hey, let's not focus on the comment that person made. Rather, let's focus on what it means in terms of the product, in terms of the design that we are, a solution approach that we are working on, right? So we rationalize everything into an outcomes and decisions on the product direction is one way to really keep the focus on the product.
Yeah. Can I just say that sounds so easy in concept and it can be so difficult in reality? Early in my career, people used to say, don't take things personally. It's business. And I understood that intellectually, but I think it was probably 15 years into my career before I realized, oh man, I take everything personally. Every project I propose that gets turned down, or every comment that gets made in a meeting, or a presentation that goes off track, I took those things personally, like it was a personal failure.
Yeah.
And what you're describing is so important, especially as a product manager, because your goal is to advance the product in
Yes.
a way that is in the best interest of the company and the marketplace.
Yep.
And that means sometimes bringing ideas forward that do not advance.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And not to take that personally. It's not a personal failure. And I think that is such a challenging lesson to learn. And I'm curious about if what those conversations are like. If you're in one of those debriefs, do you ever have a conversation where someone is taking it personally and there's redirecting or refocusing on how to focus on the product and not the personality?
Yeah, so I think the way that one technique that we use typically is just focus on first few minutes to rant a little bit about some of those emotional aspects of the call, and then move on. So we just, like, let people share their feelings, and then, yeah, now we know where we have to focus on. Let's move on to the next
Yeah.
product. So that's how we kind of get past.
Which is great because the emotion is there, right? It's reality. We're human. That's part of the experience. It's not
Yeah.
like we're robots and we're just analytical. And so I love that approach of giving a moment to have the emotional experience and then move on and say, okay, what are we taking from this and how do we move forward?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's that. And yeah, so continuing on that, some of the leadership lessons. The other thing that, at least for me personally, it worked great was making connections with the people, right? Uh, and so you meet with a number of, like, you meet like customers, you meet sales, field and sales people, your partners, and then within the enterprise, like within your product teams, you meet your adjacent product leaders. I think the most important thing is you have to focus on really building connections, deeper connections, and that really helps because it's like good deeds come back, right?
Mm.
So I've been very fortunate to be continuing to have the connections, and many of them have become like extended family members, and definitely that makes a huge difference in how you, every day when you come to work, you're part of a family.
Wow. That's amazing. And I have to say, challenging for a lot of people.
Yeah,
I meet so many people because they go into work, and this used to be me. Like, I don't have time to go to lunch because I'm here to work. I'm here to get stuff done. I'm here to produce, to execute. And so I would, for most of my career, I would have lunch at my desk
yeah,
because I was focused on getting work done. But what you're describing is building the quality of relationship where it actually feels like extended family. That's not just about doing work together. There's more to it than that.
yes.
And it requires some deliberate allocation of your time and energy towards building those relationships. I'm curious, was that ever difficult? Was that ever like finding that balance between, oh man, I'm busy, I've got to get all this work done, and yet I want to build relationships? How do you think about holding both of those?
Yeah, I think it should be considered as part of your actual deliverables, right? It's like one of the deliverables, so building connections, right? And we used to have like a, a walk after lunch, or a coffee chat, or like a one-on-one walking session. So we created opportunities to have those personal connect, as a part of our regular day, right? And it's an important investment that you're making, even though you might be holding back on making that one particular design decision, or discussing about a business rule. But having those breakouts as a part of your working day really helps you get that connection. And then when you go back to that particular deliverable, or a design or a discussion, the decisions are made very quick because you're already in sync with that person, right? So it does bring in a benefit at a later point where you can get things done faster because you've already established the vibes and the connection.
Yeah, it's the go slow to go fast, which,
Yeah,
um, I keep thinking about myself early in my career. I wanted to go fast to go fast. I didn't want to go slow to go fast, but so much of what you're talking about is just right on. Shaim, earlier today, I was in a conversation with someone. We were talking about influence.
yes,
And so much, again, product management is about influence. It's about how are you influencing people. And there's a long-term influence and there's a short-term influence. I think a lot of what you're talking about is this long-term influence, which is relationship based.
yes,
Because when you have a good relationship with someone, you understand them, their priorities, they understand you and your priorities. There's trust between you. It's way easier to influence someone when you've got that kind of strong relationship that you're describing.
yep,
And absent that, you're in this short-term influence kind of thing, which is honestly what we see on the internet most of the time, right? It's this like, I'm trying to grab your attention. I'm trying to get you to pay attention to this. I'm trying to put a little hook out there that grabs you. But it's you have to be much more manipulative is the word that comes to mind. I'm not sure that's quite the right word, but you've got to be more strategic and use all these little tools when you don't have that relationship. But
yep.
that kind of long-term investment in relationship buys you the ability to work together effectively. And that's kind of what I'm hearing and what you're talking about.
Absolutely. And also there is a short-term angle, which I think, as I'm having this now and recent pet peeve of how the idea of a creator economy, the world of creator economy, like all the YouTubers of the world. I think that's the direction where I see an opportunity, even in internally and organizations. People have to become creators to create that short-term influence. Like you might not have had that opportunity to build on that network or connection, but how you can put the hook through your creations in your network to instantly begin those connections, actually, right? So, so I see the future of especially in the product management community, where a lot of people out there and a lot of creative ideas out there, becoming a creator, I think, is an important future aspiration for me. I want to spread that idea more to both my team as well as to the outside PM community.
Yeah. Well, so, that's part of what we're doing here. We're creating content and we're sharing ideas out in the world, but I know you do that as well. Tell us a little bit about how you think about that, and what is the message that you're wanting to create and bring out to the product management community?
Yeah, I think see what's happened is the overall the attention span and people's ability to read longer content or listen to a longer content is kind of reducing. People are busy, and we need to create an impact in a very short span of time. That is one. Second thing is we're all getting into the remote working style a lot. People are in different time zones. It's the opportunity to work together, be in the same setting, is also reducing. So how we can move things faster at the same time, accommodate these variations, right? So that's where becoming a creator, thinking like a YouTuber who creates like a 5-minute video on a content. I think thinking like that becomes an important aspect, and it can be a product idea, it can be a specific design that you want to articulate, or it could be a specific architectural idea that you want to articulate. It could be any of the work related content. You might want to convert them into a small short video. So towards that, we did experiment in the team. We gave like the team members 15 minutes challenge. Like, for example, hey, you have 15 minutes, you can bring any topic and you have to present on that topic for 15 minutes. And we recorded that as a video, as a live Zoom video. But the idea was how we can start developing the practice of thinking about an idea to convey that in a very short span of time. So,
I, I, so there's a lot about that I like, and I want to challenge you on one piece of it, because
yeah,
one of the things I know about you is you're a deep thinker. You do think about things quite a bit, and that gets reflected in your work product. And sometimes when you think about something deeply, you can summarize that into a short video, but sometimes it warrants a longer discussion. And I'm curious how you think about that. And I'm wondering if we're just catering to the whims of today's society, saying, "Well, no one has a long attention span; they can't pay attention." Um, and where is the space in there for actually going deep on something?
yeah, absolutely. So I think you're actually going through the process of deep thinking in producing that short content, but it's merely a starting point, actually, right?
Hmm.
So you start with that kind of an initial hook, I would say, and then that should naturally organically open up for more opportunities for a longer conversation. So it's not the end of the world. So what we are trying to say is it just gives you the opportunity to start the conversation. So if imagine this doesn't exist, it has to be a long format meeting, and you come there, there will be so many distractions happening, you might not be able to deliver or even have the opportunity to convey, actually. Versus something like this, hey, that idea that Shyam presented with that 5-minute video, let's talk about that. So it creates more opportunities, more scenarios for a long format discussion.
Yeah. Well, so one of the things that I just want to mention, and you can comment on this, is I love your innovation about how to bring this into the workplace. Because I know one of the things you've experimented with is sharing with your team a little video like that, like a short form video saying, "Hey, this is what's going on. These are the initiatives. This is the latest updates." I think that's so novel, really, from what I understand, because I don't see a lot of people doing that. They're more likely to have a meeting or send a memo, and you're doing it in video.
Yeah, absolutely. Because my team is all spread all over the world, and we have the community of engineers and PMs spread across. So the idea was how, as a leadership team sitting in US, we can communicate with the flesh and blood, in a to everyone, right? So that thought idea kind of it became this short video idea where every new announcement that we want to make, at least we should make a short video of that announcement.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so good. Shyam, thank you so much. This has been just a great conversation. I feel like we've covered a whole range of things, range of topics. And one of the ones that just stands out to me is that, one of the primary roles of a product manager is community building
Yes.
and investing in that. And that can be as important and a huge enabler for the deliverables that you have to produce.
Hmm.
So anyway, just this has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much. Uh, I know you're doing some things also as a creator. How can people find you and connect with you and the work that you're doing?
Absolutely. So of course, my LinkedIn is open, so feel free to reach out. And I also started a YouTube channel where I started building episodes around my own PM stories, my career journey, and some of the lessons I learned. And I'm looking forward for more collaboration in that space. So happy to explore more with the PM community at large.
Excellent. Awesome. So reach out to Shyam, make a connection, check out his YouTube channel, and keep advancing forward. It's all about leadership, leading yourself, leading other people, whether you've an individual contributor or you have a team working for you, it's all leadership.